Welcome back. Today we're going to tie Tommy Lynch's Shad Wrap D&D. This is probably, it's a toss-up what my favorite color combination is. It's either the straight white with the pearl flash, or what we're going to tie it in today is the white with some red and yellow accents to it. It just kind of sets the fly off a little bit. It looks phenomenal in the water. So we're going to go ahead and get started on that. This is in Ahrex TP650 size 1. We're going to start with a little thread base here. Get everything going, get a nice base down. I got a little burr in my thread there. And I'm going to go just shy of the barb of the hook on this one. Just finish up that thread base. And then I'm going to go with a mix of, this is like pearl and yellow and orange and red. It's a nice little combination. It really makes this fly look good in the water. And then before I tighten that down, I'm just going to spread that around with my thumbnail just to give it a little bit of flair. And then I'm going to make one wrap behind all of that flash, kind of corral it in. And measure this out to length. I'm going just shy of the bend on the arm there of the hook. You can see right there where we have it. I have it just shy of that bend. We have a nice amount of flash going back there. And then we're going to go with some UV polar chenille. This is in pearl, and I just want to take this back, and I'm going to go a little bit past my halfway point with the polar chenille for the body here. A little bit past our halfway point. Let me tighten that cradle up a touch. Just going to get a couple of wraps in there, 3 to 4 maybe, and then secure that into place. A couple of more wraps. Anchor it in. A couple of wraps, anchor. And then we'll tie that off. Like I was saying, just a little bit past the halfway point on that fly, or on that hook, and then we'll tie that off. Get a couple of wraps right around there just to clean up some of those fibers. And then we're going to go with some rabbit. This is a crosscut white. When you're tying in the crosscut, tie with the fibers facing you. That way when you wrap, they're going to naturally go toward the back. And I'll just capture that in right there. Make a couple of wraps to the front. I'm going to take this almost the entire way to the front. I just want to go with 1, 2. I'm going to sneak a third right in front of that eye. It's going to leave me just enough room to tie off and get my mallard flank on there. So there we have that. I'm going to take a blade here, just trim this right up against the hook, not nicking my thread or anything. And then I'm going to make a few wraps just over top of this last hide. I'm going to build a thread dam up a little bit and then work my way back just to where I catch some of that hide. It's going to build a little slope for me, and then that way I'm not going to have a drastic drop off from the hide to the bare shank. So I'm just building up a little bit of a head there. That's going to allow my mallard flank to sit a little cleaner on this. So now we'll go in our bag of flanks here. I'm gonna find one. Not quite. Those will probably be, these will work for sure. These will work. These look pretty good. These don't have to be perfectly symmetrical like you have on the Cougars or the Boogeyman or anything like that. They don't have to be perfectly symmetrical. I will get this one that goes over the top here. I do pay a little bit more attention to that. I don't want a huge curve or anything in this, but it doesn't have to be perfectly symmetrical like I was saying. But I wouldn't throw something on here that's off by a lot. The lateral ones on the front hook there, you can see are flank there. I mean, it's an overall pretty good. It's got a little twist to it. I probably wouldn't use it on a Cougar or a Boogeyman or anything, but for this application, it's a pretty good feather. And I'm just going to double that stem over just to capture it, give me a little bit of extra security on it, and then trim this off. There, we've got a nice clean thread head, and our back hook is complete. I just want to whip finish this real quick. Get one more on there. Thread's wanting to split on me a little bit. There we go, and then I'm going to take, where's my wire at here? We're going to get some 19 strand Beadalon, 38 thousandths, and some junk scissors. Trim that off, and then we'll grab some beads here. I'm going to go with red on this. Get our wires together, throw these beads on, and we're all set. We'll get that off to the side and get this front hook in the vise. The front hook is a 1/0 Ahrex TP650. It's got the 26-degree bend in the front. Get that out of the way. See how that looks in there? That looks pretty good. And then I'm going to start my thread right before the bend on this one. And then once again, I'm just going to work this to the back, stopping right about at the point of my hook, maybe a little bit further back. I don't want to work down that bend, so I don't go all the way back to the barb on this one. If I do, it'll start going down that slope, and I don't want that. It's going to wind up throwing off the plane on that back hook. Make sure that your wires are running parallel. And then we'll check our distance there. That's a pretty good distance off of those two beads. Let's see. Tweak that just a touch on the back. That looks good there. It was wanting to kick to the side on me just slightly, so just had to adjust those wires a little bit, and we're back in business. Now I'm going to fold over my wire here. I'm going to catch it on the opposite side as well. There we go. Then we're going back to the rabbit strip. We're going to get about 2 to 3, probably 2 wraps in this back section here. I'm just going to cut a little notch in that, make it a little cleaner to tie in. catch that. And actually, before I do that, I'm jumping the gun. Jumping the gun, I almost forgot my flash. So I'm just going to pick through this. I'm going to find a spot that has a nice mix of a little bit of everything. I want some pearl, some of that red, orange, and yellow. Can't really find. That's a good chunk right there. That's a pretty good chunk. I'm going to double this, and I think I'm going to use all of it for this section right here. Yeah, I'm going to use all of this. I add a decent amount of flash to this back section, or to this section, and then the next one after that. I add a decent amount to it. So I think I'm going to double this. Just going to work that forward, pull this stuff back up, and then once again just run my nail through that, just spread everything out slightly. And then we'll pull this around, just kind of capture everything again. Then I'm going to measure this back. I want it going about halfway back that mallard flank, so I'm just going to take a quick trim right there. That looks pretty good to me as it sits. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Now we're on to the rabbit. I was wanting to jump the gun there a little bit. So we'll go ahead and get that rabbit in. And like I said, probably 2 wraps on this. I doubt I'll get a third. There's the first. Yeah, that's all I want, is just those 2 right there. I just want enough hair going back that it's going to cover that connection, but I don't want to go really far forward with this, so 2 wraps seems to be a pretty good fit. And then with the cross cut, it lays back a little bit easier for you than if you were using just a straight cut rabbit. So we'll clean this up slightly. And then we're back to the UV puller. See how that gives you nice coverage over that bead right there? It just wraps back, it goes into that back hook real nice, and it makes a nice clean cover for you. So now I'm going to take the UV puller, I'm going to tie that in again, and then I'm going to work that almost to the bend of the hook. I'm going to stop just shy of that bend. We'll get that in the cradle. And then just work your puller chenille right up to the front, giving it a good anchor set, or an anchor wrap on the 3rd or 4th wrap forward each time. So we'll get 3 to 4, anchor it in. 1, 2. I'm going to get 1 more, I think. Yeah. Stopping just shy of that bend right there. Going to get that tied into place and get rid of this puller chenille, and we'll be on our way with our side flank feathers. Now before I do that, I go back and forth on how I do this sometimes. Sometimes I'll put the flash in after the flank feathers. Sometimes I'll put the flash in first. It seems a little cleaner to me to do the flash first, so that's what I'm going to do here. I got all gold and yellow, or orange. Get a little bit of pearl in here. That's looking good. That's looking good. Clean off that section. We'll double this up. Then I'm going to have this flash running into last section that I tied in. We'll just get that into place. Yeah, I don't know if that's going to want to work for me or not. I don't know if I like how that went in there. I guess it's alright. And then, like I was saying, I'm going to just run this into that last section of flash that I had, probably right about like that, going into about halfway back that last section of flash. We'll get that tied in there, and then I'm going to half hitch, just because I didn't like how I grabbed that bundle of flash there, but everything seems to be secure there for us. Now we're going to move into these side flank feathers here, and this is what I was saying earlier with these ones don't have to be perfect. So if you have some that are a little bit off, they maybe have a curve to them or whatever, this is a good application to use them. But these ones seem to be pretty good, and then I want those going back into the rabbit on the back hook. This is going to be a nice cover right here. Let's get a couple of clean wraps. Don't really tighten down on those wraps just yet until you look at it. It's not kicked one way or the other on you. You're happy with how it's sitting, and then after you're happy with the way that it sits, then you can go ahead and tighten those up. We're going to go back to another feather here. That one's chewed up pretty good. The only thing that I'd say to really watch for on these feathers is make sure that they're pretty symmetrical. I mean, they don't have to be perfect, but you don't want one that's half an inch wide and then one that barely shows up on the fly. Make sure that they're pretty symmetrical. And then once again, we're going to just make some loose wraps. Get everything in place. Make sure that it's running laterally for you. And then we'll really tighten down on those. Go ahead and trim that. And we're still a little bit shy of that bend. I have it covered up with a little bit of thread right there, but our bend's sitting at about this point. Now, this is where I'm going to add a little bit of red rabbit, but because we already have a little bit of build right there, and this is such a good application for it, I'm going to throw this in a loop. And I explained this a couple of weeks back on the one sec, let me get that out of the way. On the product review for this hairline material clamp, that this is a great application to use these this tool. This is a great application for it because you're going to see there is barely any build at all, because we're taking everything off the hide and we're going to be working with just this hair. I'm going to take the full 2 inches of this working material here, or this working section, I should say, and set that right there. Trim this right against the hide. I want to get as much length as possible as I can out of this rabbit. Takes a little bit longer to get this tied in this way, but I think the benefits outweigh the time that it costs you to get this in, because you're going to see there's absolutely zero build on this. So then I just want to even all of this out right here. Get those butt ends as close as I can to my dubbing loop. I'm going to take and spin that. There's my first wrap. And I want this rabbit around there fairly tight. Get a little bit extra. That should do it right there. And then I'm just going to work this around. And with this, I can put one wrap right in front of the next. And like I was saying, there's virtually no build. So I'm getting 2 inches worth of rabbit hair on this and no hide. If I were to keep it on the hide, I would probably get maybe a 1/2 inch of material on that, but I would have bulk all over the place and it would just be really sloppy to work with when it comes time to put the deer hair on. You can see right there, I have such a clean platform right here. I have no interference with the hide, with any extra material, but I have that red going around there and it has a really nice look to it. So I'm just going to add a little bit of thread just to kind of control that hair a little bit more. And then I'm putting my collar right above the bend on this. We'll go ahead and switch over to a gel spun 200 for the deer hair work. Get that 200 in place, and then it's just a little thick, or a little slick. So I'm just going to 1/2 hitch right where my collar is going to start. And then I still do this different than most everybody that I see that ties these. I just haven't been able to break the habit of tying the collar in first and then going with the head. I see a lot of folks do it and they do it really well. They make some really clean heads on these. It's just, I don't know, probably since watching Kelly's cougar video, oh man, I don't know how many years ago, 10, 15 years ago, probably, watching that for the first time. I think it was, may have been on VHS if I'm not mistaken. I don't know, it was probably a DVD. I ain't that damn old. Let's see here, so we'll throw this in. Anyhow, like I was saying before I got distracted, I do the collars first. I do the collar and only the collar, and then I tie the rest of the head. It's just, that's what I'm used to doing, and that's probably the way that I'll always do these. But if you want to do it the other way, where you incorporate the head or the head into the collar, by all means go ahead. Like I said, there's a lot of folks that do it and a lot of folks that tie some really good looking wedged heads that way, but I'm gonna do it this way. So let me shorten that up just a touch, and then I'm gonna get this tied in. I'm gonna go 1, 2, a third, and I just want to spread that collar out. Now we're starting to work on that downward slope. There you can see we've got a nice thick collar there. We've got the red from the rabbit underneath. And then the trick with these heads, I prefer belly hair. You can do body hair if you want. It just doesn't seem to quite do as well for me. I like the belly hair because it just builds better. It's a more compact head, and that's what you're after when you're doing these wedge style heads. You want as much hair as possible in here. So I'm going to take a good clump of this. This is a pretty thick amount. I'm going to set that right in. I'm going to go 1, 2, and then a third. I'm going to pull down tight and just flare that down, working that stuff around the hook, and then right in front I got one wrap there that I didn't like. I got some hair trapped. But anyhow, we're just doing like a spin stack hybrid here. I don't know if I really like that one there. I may not use that actually. I may take that hair off. I'm going to pack it and see what it looks like. I had a couple of hairs that got mixed in, but I want to pack this and see how it turns out. Oh no, we're good. We're good. My eyes may have been playing tricks on me there. So then I have just a little bit of hook to work with, but I'm going to wind up using the same amount of hair on this just to make this as compact as possible. There we go. There we go. So I may have just a little bit less hair on this, but not by a lot. And I'm going to set that right on the top. I want to make sure that I'm catching everything cleanly, but then I'm also staying behind the eye of that hook. So then I'm just going to work this hair down before I tighten this, work that hair down, and I'm going to pull back at an angle away from the eye of that hook, and then just get everything set in place, and then it's that hybrid spin stack again. There we go. That's looking pretty clean. Just clear all this stuff out of our way and we'll get a whip finish in there. One. Well. That gel spun's pretty slick and it's wanting to slide off of that eye there. I've got plenty of room to get that in there. It's just wanting to fight me a little bit. And then of course I get the one that's working and I catch a little bit of hair. There we go. Shorten up this thread that I'm working with, that's part of the problem. That's part of the problem. And we go 1, 2, there we go. We're nice and secure. Alright, so there you can see the amount of hair that we're working with on this wedged head. I mean, this stuff is really compact in there, and that's really what you need. That's really what you're after on these wedge styles. And then what I'm going to do, if I can, because I like trimming these with the face on, I don't know if, I'm going to make sure that that back camera is going to be able to pick this up. I just want to rotate this vise slightly. Make sure that I'm still going to be in the frame. Yeah, I'll be able to center that up when I'm doing the edit for it. As long as I can stay out of the camera. This might be a little tricky doing this, but I think we're going to be able to work with it. Yeah, I think we'll be able to go. So what I'm going to do on this is I'm just going to take a swipe right on the bottom. Just remember that you're working on a bent hook. It's a brand new blade and it doesn't want to cut for anything. Just remember that you are working on a bent hook. I'm going to move off to the side now that I have that first one cut there, and I'm just going to clean this up. I don't try and get the shape perfect right out of the gate. I'm going to adjust this in the vise so it's facing up a little bit. I don't try to get the shape perfect on the very first trim. I just want to get that overall profile here. Make sure that's centered up. I'm out of the camera. Oh, this blade's garbage. There we go, that side's good. It's a brand new blade. Like I was saying, I'm just after the overall shape. I'm not trying to get this thing perfect right out of the gate. I'm just getting the overall profile that I want, and then I'm just going to feather this through here and clean that up slightly. Alright, now I can get a little bit more aggressive on this downward slope. I can kind of cut into that slope some. Being careful as you get to the back not to nick your rabbit. I mean, if you get a little bit of it, it's not the end of the world. You want to be able to keep that in there as good as possible. Now I'm going to turn this on its side, and I'm just going to follow this around. Let me tighten that vise up a little bit. I'm just going to follow this around and once again get an overall profile or an overall shape there. Not getting real aggressive on this just yet. I'll work on that as I go through it. And then the same thing, I'm probably going to block the camera on this side. I'll try my best not to. And let's see. Same thing on this side. I'm just kind of pushing my blade through there, getting the overall shape on that, and then I'll come back through after. And I'm staying away from making a really aggressive cut on that. Just so I make sure that my shape's there before anything. I'm starting to get pretty happy with that look right there. And I'm just cleaning these up, getting rid of some of these longer hairs that are sitting through here that aren't the collar. Just cleaning those up, making sure that the shape's there. And then I'm going to leave that be for now. I'm just going to trim some of these with the scissors. I'm not going to spend a ton of time shaping this. I could take just an insane amount of time to get all this shaped and everything, just how I want it. But I'm going to spare you the time from that. You can see you can see the wedged head that we have right there on that underneath side, and then on the top and going down our sides as well. Damn thing wants to come out of the vise on me. I just need to trim a little bit of this up underneath. Before I shut this off, or before I put the eyes on, I should say. I'm gonna wait to put the eyes on there. You guys have seen these D&Ds done before, so it's not anything new. I've seen plenty of videos of putting eyes on, so there's not a whole lot to it. I'm gonna wait until I trim that up a little bit better before I put the eyes on, but you'll be able to see it in the picture prior to the video starting. Let me get my flanks right there, Get them built up onto the side. Make sure all my flash is going in the right direction. I've got stuff flying all over the place here. There we go. That's looking pretty clean. Like I said, there's still a little bit of work to be done on that wedged head, but we'll get that squared away before I take the picture of it, and then you guys will be able to see it with the eyes on and everything. But there is Tommy Lynch's Shad Wrap D&D, minus a little bit of trimming to go on it yet. I got belly hair all over the place. Like I was saying, that's one of my favorite color combinations. I really think that red rabbit on the underneath, coupled with that flash, it just adds a dimension to this fly, and really performs well in the water. I just love the way that it swims. You know, the D&D platform itself swims awesome, but then it stands out in the water so much, and it's such a great color combination. But give it a shot. Let me know what you guys think. If you have any questions or comments on them, leave them with me and I'll get back to you. But thanks for watching, and we'll catch you on the next fly.